Hello, this is Silu welcoming you yet again to a new episode of the fortnightly EY ESG podcast, where we look at the most important sustainability issues that India Inc. needs to deal with in their ESG, environmental, social, and governance journey. Today, we will talk about the net zero concept and with it, try to get some quirky insights on the buzzword greenwash, which became a popular word among business leaders as net zero took over some key decision making. Since Prime Minister Narendra Modi committed that India will achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2070, Indian corporations have been talking about their own net zero goals and targets. But exactly how will the Indian firms go about meeting that goal? Do the businesses have concrete plans or is it greenwash? To answer all these and other such interesting questions, we are joined today by Sonak Saha, Partner, Climate Change and Sustainability Services at EY India. Sonak has over 15 years of experience in the domain of climate change, energy management, renewable energy, carbon management, and sustainability. He specializes in ESG strategy development and low carbon transition in manufacturing and services sectors. Welcome to the hot seat, Sonak.
Thanks, Ilu. This is really an interesting subject and yet very complex. So I will try my level best to answer all your questions.
Sure, Sonak. So tell me, Sonak, what are the strategies that the big corporations are following to achieve their net zero goals?
So in my mind, Sidhu, most of the Indian companies are focusing on a three-pronged approach. So on the first part, they are focusing on how to reduce their operational emissions. So they are looking at means how to improve their energy efficiency. They are looking at how to upscale the renewable energy in order to ensure that they substitute more of fossil-based energy. They're also looking at circular economy or 3R principles to reduce, reuse, and recycle, again, to overall reduce their operational phase emissions. On the second part, they are focusing more on redesigning their processes and products so that the emissions from the use phase of the products are reduced. Just to give you an example, like most of the automotive companies in India today are focusing on lightweight vehicles, which will be more fuel efficient. And to an extent, they will reduce lower emissions when they are being run. And this would require a lot of research and development focusing on your process and products to reduce the emissions from the use phase. But having said that, there will be still an amount of emissions which are unavoidable. And to that extent, companies are focusing on creating carbon sinks. They are focusing on carbon capture utilizations and carbon capture storage technologies to ensure that those emissions are also not being released to the atmosphere. Over and above, companies are also looking at offset strategies just to ensure that emissions which they are not able to reduce, they're at least working back with other companies to make sure that they are able to reduce their emissions, and collectively we are moving towards a more low carbon path.
But Sonak, all this will require quite a lot of investment, right? Won't it? What do you think?
That's absolutely right, Silu. Any sort of net zero transition strategy is going to be quite capital intensive. And therefore, all large corporations who are focusing on net zero are also looking at different ways of financing these technologies. In fact, any new technology that we are talking today, be it hydrogen fuel, be it carbon capture utilizations, they are all very capital intensive. But on the other hand, if you look at our conventional and traditional project evaluation mechanisms still do not factor in most of the cases a cost of carbon emissions. But if you look at globally, the regulations are also getting stricter. Many countries are now taking a carbon tax. So if we start factoring a cost of carbon in our project evaluations, then what will eventually happen is this kind of low carbon technologies over a longer period of time will start becoming more viable.
Got it. Sonak, what can the government do over here to help make corporate transition faster?
Silu, in my mind, government of India is very proactive towards net zero transitions. We all have seen the Panchamrit commitment. Government has been doing a lot to kind of enable uptake of renewable energy all throughout the country, which itself will make many sectors, many company to move towards a net zero transition. Having said that, we can definitely look at some of the incentives or policy interventions. Say, for example, a tax breaks on technologies which will reduce our emissions, or even incentivizing products which are leading to lower emissions, or disincentivizing companies through some penalty or sort of a tax, okay, which will in a way will lead to these companies also to go for lowering their emissions. Government is also looking at creating a market, carbon market domestically, which will facilitate companies collectively to move towards a low carbon path.
Right. In your view, Sonak, how serious is corporate India when it talks about net zero? As in, do they have concrete plans around this and how they're going to achieve and what they're going to do on this journey, or is it just greenwash?
This is interesting, Silu, because corporate India, it's quite a large universe, right? And when it comes to the large Indian companies, I would say they are taking it up very seriously. Most of these large companies are now developing their strategy towards net zero transitions. They are working out a roadmap or an action plan with very specific timelines in mind, specific goals and KPIs defined. They have also been looking at renewable energy research and development on new generation technologies and energy transitions. But when it comes to companies which are not so big, or let's say the medium and small enterprises, of course, there is a bit more traction which would be required. And I would say that India government is kind of creating a lot of enabling infrastructures where these companies will also start focusing towards a net zero transition.
Thanks a lot, Sonak, for explaining all these issues so clearly and so very lucidly.
Thanks, Sulu. I enjoyed the talk too.
Excellent. Well, this was our quick insight. Watch out for our next show where we would be joined by another partner from our CCAS practice to help us understand what is the S of ESG, the social aspect of ESG, and how is India Inc. contributing to it. Till then, this is Silu signing off.